Have you ever felt that the vast and unknown universe seems to distance us from everything and everyone, as if the cosmos were conspiring against our connection with people, opportunities, and even the very destiny we believed was meant for us? This feeling of loneliness that emerges unexpectedly in the most challenging hours often makes us question if something is wrong with us. However, it is important to realize that this is neither a cosmic punishment nor a sign of defeat. On the contrary, this sensation may have a much deeper and more enriching meaning. Instead of seeing this loneliness as something to be feared, how about reimagining it from a more transformative perspective? The philosopher and psychologist Carl Jung, known for his theories on the human psyche, introduced a concept that can help us better understand this moment: individuation. For Jung, this is the most important journey of life, a process of self-awareness and self-overcoming that goes beyond simple personal growth or social adaptation. Individuation is a quest to integrate all parts of our being, including those that we hide or deny, whether out of shame, fear, or the pressure of social norms. This process, although deeply transformative, is not easy. Individuation requires confronting aspects of ourselves that we often prefer to ignore, making it a journey that can feel solitary. But don't be fooled. This isolation is not a punishment. It is, in fact, an opportunity to reconnect with your true self. In times when we feel disconnected from the world, when everything seems distant and strange, loneliness can be seen as an opportunity to understand deeper aspects of our psyche, parts of us that were on the margins and that, perhaps, we have never paid attention to. It is not a permanent separation, but a path to self-knowledge. Jung teaches us that we need to detach ourselves from external expectations to turn inward and understand who we really are. However, this process is not simple. It requires us to face our shadows, the parts of ourselves that we reject, those that seem unacceptable or inconvenient. The shadow, for Jung, is that facet of ourselves that, when ignored or repressed, creates internal dissonance. Individuation is precisely the process of recognizing and integrating these parts, not to destroy them, but to make them part of a healthy and balanced whole. In moments of isolation, when the outside world becomes a distant backdrop, we can begin to see more clearly who we truly are. This silence allows us to hear our inner voice without distractions, inviting us to recognize and accept both the light and the shadow that coexist in our psyche. And in the midst of this journey of self-discovery, we may realize a deep truth. Loneliness is essential for our growth. As we walk through this inner journey, loneliness becomes an essential space for reflection. Great thinkers and creators throughout history have gone through moments of isolation that proved crucial for their personal and intellectual growth. For example, Friedrich Nietzsche withdrew to the Swiss Alps, far from social and academic pressures, where he developed some of the most impactful ideas in modern philosophy, such as the concept of the Übermensch. This period of solitude was not an escape, but a space for renewal and maturation, away from the conventions and beliefs of the time. Another example is the writer Henry David Thoreau, who, by living in isolation at Walden Pond, rejected the materialism and distractions of society, creating a work that would resonate for generations, inspiring those seeking a simpler lifestyle aligned with their own values. For Thoreau, solitude was an opportunity to reframe existence and discover a more genuine purpose, away from societal impositions. Solitude was also pivotal for Nelson Mandela. During the 27 years he spent in prison, away from his family and society, Mandela underwent a period of deep introspection. It was in this isolation that he found the strength to reflect on his role in the struggle against apartheid. solidifying a vision of forgiveness and reconciliation that would make him a globally admired leader. And who can forget the life of Vincent van Gogh, who, although deeply solitary and tormented, found in solitude the key to a unique artistic expression. His letters to his brother Theo reveal Van Gogh's existential suffering, but also show how he used this solitude as a fertile ground for his creativity, giving life to works that are now admired worldwide. In a similar vein, Franz Kafka, whose works are permeated by existential solitude, used his personal alienation as fuel to create literature full of introspection and symbolism. For Kafka, solitude was not only an external condition, but an internal struggle that manifested in his stories, challenging his readers to reflect on the human condition and their own search for meaning. Solitude, however, is not always something positive at first glance. Often it brings discomfort, fear, and uncertainty. Actress Jodie Foster, for example, shared how loneliness was a constant in her life, especially during her phases of transition. However, it was this solitude that helped her develop inner strength, allowing her to deal with her emotions and become one of the most respected actresses of her generation. And of course, even Carl Jung himself used solitude for his own internal processes, retreating to his tower in Bollingen on the shores of Lake Zurich. There, he delved into his unconscious, laying the foundations of psychological theories that continue to influence psychology to this day. These examples show that loneliness does not need to be feared. On the contrary, it can be a powerful catalyst for growth and self-discovery. By accepting solitude as part of our journey, we can uncover facets of ourselves that we didn't know existed and free ourselves from the limitations imposed by society. However, today's solitude in our digital age takes on a new form. We are more connected than ever, yet paradoxically, more isolated. Social networks and digital platforms offer us a facade of connection, but we often deceive ourselves with the illusion of closeness, when in reality, we are becoming increasingly distant from ourselves and others. The existential emptiness that many feel today may be a reflection of an incessant search for external validation, rather than an internal reconnection. The solitude of our modern era is, therefore, an invitation to rediscover our essence, away from the noise of the world. Instead of filling the void with distractions and superficialities, it is time to embrace this moment of silence as an opportunity for inner growth. In solitude, we can finally listen to ourselves for real, no longer seeking external approval, but self-validation and authenticity that come from within.